All right, what's up, everybody? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. If you're hanging out, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time talking about these trills and rolling your R's. Let me make sure my screen is on. Whoops. I am here. Yes. That's funny. Maybe the thumbnail will just be all black and we can just keep it this cool classic look. So I'm coming on to talk about this cool little effect that you don't hear many folks doing, and it does work on the harp. I'm going to use an A harmonica to do this. And so I think, let me demonstrate what I mean by the rolling R. It's just like in Spanish. I just want to talk about where I've kind of heard this before, where there might be some use or application, and how you can get started if you want to try it. I know Big Walter's intro to Walter's Boogie's got it up on the 9 blow. I know that Gary Primich uses it on the 4 blow in a handful of songs. If you don't know Gary Primich, be sure to check him out. He was a fantastic harmonica player. And then, of course, the old style of playing, like Gwen Foster style, where there's a lot of this. I'm not good at that style, so I'm just showing you that it was done up on, holes 8 or 9. But I think it's a really interesting thing. No one really talks about this. So usually when we say the word harmonica trill, we're thinking of head shake somewhere in the middle of the harp. But in this case, I'm referring to that specific rolling R pronounced sound. So let's just talk about a little bit of how to get started with it. Again, I'm using this A harmonica today. If you can't roll your R, the step one is to try to get that to come out. Let's see. I did teach Spanish before I ever started teaching harmonica. I was a Spanish major in school, and then I went on to teach and travel and learn Spanish. So if you relax the front part of the tongue, it's going to hit the hard palate behind your front teeth, and just get it to try to just kind of blow first, intentionally trying to move it up and down in the front until it sort of takes on a life of its own. This is going to take practice. If you can't do it, you're trying to imitate things like Ricky Tiki Tan or Ricky. No, Ricky Tiki Tan wouldn't be good. There need more R's in there. Roll, just anything with an R that you can practice. Roberto, Rico, and just try to hold that. Once you get that to start to come out, and again, it's very much relaxing the tongue to get it to just sort of involuntary move up front right here. But once you've got that, I'd start with like notes like the 4 blow. You start with your mouth open. If you're a pucker player, you start with your mouth still open and get that on a more of a chord-ish sound, maybe in the 4 or 5 dirty note area. And then narrow in on the note as it's coming to the end of the trill. By the way, I'm doing a class this Saturday, I should mention. Has nothing to do with this, but I wanted to come on and talk about this. The class is all about holes 6 through 10, approaching the high end. I'll put a link to that in case you want to learn more about the Saturday's online class. So Big Walter went. And it's not easy to get enough of that sound. But I know it can be gentle. The best example in a blues context for me where I think it just stands out is Gary Primich. And I can't for the life of me think of the song that he would use that in. But it's in more than one song. But you just check out Gary Primich's music. You'll find this sound happening. Again, that's the tongue trill or this rolled R effect. I'd say it just replaces any note you want to replace with it, but I hear it mostly maybe on 4. I've heard it on 6. I've heard it on 9 in that top area. Don't hear it as much on the very bottom. And mine needs a lot of practice. Why am I sharing it? Because some people have like a natural just ability to grab a technique and instantly own it. And it's just about sharing the information and they've got it. I'll give you a good example. The tongue trill, where you're actually moving the tongue side to side. And really, it's kind of a wag or maybe even a tongue switch, technically. This type of thing is usually developed over a long period of time of training the tongue to be moving on its own and be totally involuntary. But there are people where you teach it or explain it to them, and they've got like this thing that's going on that's just extremely advanced and masterful sounding immediately. Something about their genetics or whatever, they've got that ability to just really shake the tongue. That's a great one to practice if you are tongue blocking but not using your tongue outside of single notes. Get into these types of... Again, that's more tongue switching because I'm playing holes like 5 and 3. Tongue blocking and kind of towards the middle. But you can hear that it's the primary notes sounded are 5 draw and 3 draw on this A harp. And what's cool is that once you get a couple of these techniques down, you can start to really mix it up. And you get to the point where you're not thinking, you're just sort of substituting single notes for these. And I'm doing a really cool presentation for SPA, the Society for the Preservation and Advancement of the Harmonica. Why not mention that and plug it real quick? That's coming up this week. Next week, sorry. The 13th, Friday, the 13th of August, 1 p.m. So be on the lookout for how you can register at spah.org. I'll be teaching blending techniques, this topic I'm kind of chatting about here now. How do you get into taking these techniques and skills that you've learned and acquired and putting them into motion and getting them into phrasing and sometimes layering multiple techniques together. So you got a complete phrase with a vibrato and a tongue slap and an octave and a etc. You get the idea, and a dirty note or all these different things in one phrase. So that's kind of the gist of it. I think it's really a twofold conversation. It's mixing various techniques throughout a phrase, and it's thinking about layering techniques that can go together. So when you think about your own playing, what do you combine in the world of technique? What is something that goes together? One example would be hand wand vibrato, or that it could go together. Another example could be like a tremolo kind of pulsing breath on an octave. So that's the kind of thing where you start to think about it like, okay, I can layer within the technique, its techniques, one upon the other. Or I can just really take one at a time and piece them together throughout a phrase. Or you can do both of them where you're layering many things like this. And this tongue trill that this was just one little part of the conversation to get things started, this title of this rolling R, but this is an unusual one. But if you've got the skill and you can produce this, be somebody who can utilize that. In the world of blues, it sounds really cool, you know? What's up, everybody that is tuning in live? Hey. Oh, no, Tim. No good to hear that. This Saturday's class is cool because I'm just going to mention that I'm going to start this class talking about problem solving, really 7 through 10 in this part of the discussion, problem solving issues that are happening up there. There's 2 distinct things that players are doing that are disrupting their ability to get maximum volume and tone out of the high end and feel very comfortable at will. You know, I would appreciate it if you're watching or even as a recording, put it in the comments section, like as if saying it, I'm one of those people. If you've had issues with the high end of the harmonica fighting you, whether you've experienced it in the past or currently, but you have a challenge playing up there for whatever reason, and mention what's going on. The cool thing is that it's really easy to problem solve, and I'm going to take the time in this class to like really discuss all of the nuance of positioning in the mouth, the jaw, everything, how to stop it and what to listen for and understand what I hear that sound, I know it's this. So that's the adjustment I need to make. If it produces this type of sound or this is happening, I know it's this. This is the cause and here's how I can work on it. That's how that conversation is going to go. Step 2 is going to be blow bending. I want to teach the class a review on the technique of blow bending and just cover the availability and just, take any questions from the group. Octaves, might as well review that because they're pertinent to the high-end playing in any position. Playing octaves and splits change as we go up the harmonica. Above hole 7, you start to get much wider splits or octaves. I'm going backwards. Different from technique from where you're blowing. And then I want to review the scale note availability by position for the high end, which gets interesting, right? Because a lot of you already know that there's deficits. Certain positions are not very friendly for playing blues. So you have to get creative with what is available. So we'll be talking a little bit of light scale work discussion. I've got it all printed out in the notes. And then step 5 is learning some ideas and having fun in each position, and also connecting riffs that come from holes 4 and 5 or 6, potentially moving up, and vice versa, so that it doesn't feel like you're just isolating like an island 7 through 10 going, man, I got to figure this out. I got to be able to go up there and do something beautiful in each position. Yeah, you want a little bit of that challenge, but then you want to know the smart way to approach mixing, especially the middle octave of the harmonica. And then it gets much easier to move around and just express yourself. So yeah. Well, Tony says he finds 6 draw, half step bend tricky on a D harmonica. Let's talk about that. That's not, we can do that right now. If you have a D harmonica and you're working on so the 6 draw, think about it this way, Tony. The higher the key the harmonica, the more the forward part of the tongue we focus on for these bends. And you're on a 6 draw, which is the highest available draw bend. So if you're on the highest available draw bend and you're on a D harmonica, and the higher we go in the harmonica in general, the more forward it is in the mouth or the tongue. That means that you need to really focus all your attention to this part of the tongue in the front and how it correlates to an upward pressure. Get that sound going. And breathe in like this without the harmonica. Try going. That's me just allowing the tongue to drop and go right back. When it's in the proper bend position, there's almost no air passing. Very little. It's redirecting the air to the sides. But you're going to feel it here. And make sure you really have a balance between this relaxed, breathing at the same time. You don't want your breathing to be too forceful because there's only so much air that can pass through a 6 draw on a D harmonica especially. So you have to just relax and just get the air real even. If you really relax with it, your blow bends will even come out a little, not wonderfully, but it's construction day once again at my house. Every day, pretty much. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I live in a construction zone. But it is what it is, folks. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see what people are saying here. Only got a little bit of time today, so I'm going to jump in a little bit. But stay away from this class because of my issue, but I guess I just not a need. Well, maybe. You want to hear the vibrato. Somebody said, please play me the vibrato. That's the other thing we're doing in this class is learning Amazing Grace on the high end, and we'll see how easy it lays out, and then we'll learn about how the blow bends can fit in context to that. So this melody, but instead of second position, we'll do it in first position. Little Amazing Grace again, that's second, and in the class we're going to do things like this. Take that simple phrase, bluesify it, put a little emotion into it. See how tiny bit of technique in that kind of melody, just a little bit of technique goes a long way. Like, and placed in a way that makes sense too. Like, think about your technique as another layer, right, of sound you're creating. You don't want to mess it up. You want it to be clean and presented like directly, which means often the long notes are an area where it can just settle, like that octave, where I can kind of gently come dynamically quieter right there. That's a nice presentation, I think, of the octave versus somebody that might go, let's see. You know, something where it doesn't get a chance to breathe, or they go, put it right there on the second note where it's a little harsher. Think about where it belongs and use it sparingly. Like, take a little bit goes a long way. It's like seasoning, I guess, or, you know, there's only so much that the palate can handle before it's like, whoa, I need a minute. You got to give me a second. So yeah. What's up? Bill, you shouldn't stay away. You should not stay away from that high end. You should go right up there, you know? And we're going to get into those other positions, which is cool. Like, it's very interesting when you start to see what is missing in your kind of get-arounds, the way that you handle a situation if you choose not to overdraw up top and seek out these remaining notes. For example, like the 9 overdraw is a killer overdraw note to have, which would be the same note as that 6-draw bend to half step. That's a great note choice. If you can overdraw that note, your harp's giving it to you, well, hell, use it, especially in third position. It sounds really good. Probably every position, I just don't realize. But, like, yeah, use it. Like, I don't know that I have a harmonica that'll just give it to me, but no. Let's see. There it is. That's real bluesy to be able to have that note. However, if you don't have the technique and you don't have the harp set up for it, and I don't use that ever, but that's just demonstration purposes. Like, if you have it, though, and you can utilize it, figure out some simple musical context for it. All right, folks, it's been nice to hang. Slick is in the house. What's up, Slick? That reminds me of Slick Rick. Any Slick Rick fans in the house here? Slick Rick. All right, folks, really appreciate you hanging out today, and maybe I'll see some of you in this class tomorrow. That's at 11 a.m. Central. Holes 6 through 10. It's all recorded in case you cannot make it. You can come join and hang out live, or you can just purchase it to get the recording later on. We're going to problem solve technique. We're going to learn some riffs. We're going to do some scale work. We're going to learn a melody. It's going to be a busy class, but it's going to be a fun one. So I hope to see you.